In many discussions I have regarding philosophy of mind, there's a common assumption that qualia, subjective experience, and sensations are given non-inferentially to perceivers. This is called the myth of the given. In the following clip, Ray Brassier brilliantly and eloquently deconstructs this very notion and tries to explain why the premises that many people bring into these sorts of conversations are problematic when it comes to matters of consciousness and subjective experience.
Categories do not represent or designate any apparent feature of the world. They are not phenomenologically intuitable. They cannot be read off the structure of language or of reality. And to assume otherwise is to fall prey to what Sellars calls the myth of the given. And this myth has two forms, epistemic and categorial. The myth of the epistemic given is crystallized in the following inconsistent triad of premises generated by empiricism. And this should be the first excerpt on the handout that I hope some people have. This inconsistent triad, it's the triad which empiricism or empiricist philosophers find themselves unwittingly committed to. It's internally contradictory. Premise A is X senses read sense content S entails that X knows non-inferentially that S is read. Premise B is that the ability to sense sense content is unacquired, and premise C is the claim that the ability to know facts of the form X is phi is acquired. A and B together entail not C, B and C together entail not A and C together entail not B. Sellars' argument may be recapitulated as follows. Knowledge is of facts. To know something is to know a fact or a state of affairs. To know that something is the case, that something is thus and so. Facts have propositional form, X is phi. Either the ability to know facts of the form X is phi is acquired or it is unacquired. If it is acquired, then it cannot be a sensory capacity, since, by hypothesis, the ability to sense sense contents is unacquired. This is the premise. Therefore, the ability to know facts must be unacquired. But if it is unacquired, then the world must have propositional form. And this propositional form is mirrored directly by the mind. Since propositional form is tantamount to intelligible order, one must either invoke God to account for the isomorphy between the structure of the world and the structure of mind, or leave it unexplained. So in other words, it's this postulate of a pre-established harmony between conceptual order and natural order that is a direct consequence of embracing the myth of the epistemic given. Now, Sellars argues that premise A is false, premise A being the claim that to sense something, to sense a read sense content, means that the sensor knows non-inferentially that sense datum is read or has some property. This is the claim that must be abandoned, must be jettisoned. Sensing a read sense content does not entail knowing non-inferentially that S is read. In other words, sensory awareness alone does not constitute knowledge. The non-inferential knowledge that X is phi, such as seeing that blood is red or hearing that the clock has struck 12, is a conceptually mediated perception, not a sensible intuition. In other words, the point is not to deny that we can know things about the world without making inferences. The claim is that this ability to engage in a kind of a non-inferential perception is itself mediated by this complex conceptual machinery that underpins sense perception. So there's a distinction between sensing and perceiving. Sensing is not knowing. The perceptual immediacy of such knowledge is mediated by an elaborate conceptual framework of objects related in a publicly observable space and time. Moreover, it follows from this account that sensory awareness is not awareness as. To sense something is not to be aware of it as something. It's not to classify it. Because to be aware of an item having categorical status F is not to be aware of it as F. To sense something as F would be to deploy the concept of F. And such deployment would have to be rule-governed, since Sellers follows Kant in construing concepts as rules for connecting representations. But rule-following is thinking, which is an activity irreducible to sensing. So in its most elementary form, the myth of the given consists in conflating thinking with sensing, or in Kantian parlance, concepts with intuitions.